Divorced men. What happened when she tried to contact you after losing him? Story 1. I'm 35M, divorced for 3 years. My ex-wife, 33F, left me for a guy she met at her gym. Classic cliche. He just understands me better. They moved in together before the ink on our divorce was even dry. Last year, I'm at work when I get a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's me. Can we talk? I ignore it. 10 minutes later, a wall of messages. She'd broken up with gym guy. Actually, he'd broken up with her after cheating on her with a 22-year-old coworker. He apparently called her too much drama and said he wasn't ready to be a stepdad to my kid. Then she starts rewriting history. We were both unhappy. I miss talking to you. I miss how safe I felt with you. Can we grab coffee? Just as friends. I have a girlfriend now, and more importantly, I have mental peace. So I text back one sentence. I'm glad you're safe, but I've moved on. Please respect that. She immediately flips. Now it's, wow, so you never loved me then? After everything we had? Then the guilt bombs about our family, how he ruined her life, and how no one understands her like I do. I just said, I hope you find a good therapist. Take care, and blocked her. A week later, my sister sends me screenshots of my ex's Facebook post. A rant about cold ex-husbands who abandon you when you're at your lowest. Her friends are split in the comments, half of them calling me a monster, the other half quietly pointing out she left me first. I didn't comment. I just took my girlfriend and my son to the zoo that weekend. She chose a different life. Now she has to live it. Story 2. My ex-wife left me when our son was 4. She said she was done being poor and ran off with her boss, a guy with a nice car and a nicer Instagram. I paid child support, she had primary custody, and I was the boring every other weekend dad. 2 years later at 2:17 a.m., my phone starts ringing nonstop. First a call, then another, then a video chat request. Finally a text. Please answer, it's an emergency. I pick up. She's sobbing. He kicked us out. We're at this motel. I don't know what to do. Can we stay with you? Just for a while. Background noise. My son crying. That's what snapped me into focus. I told her I'd be there in 20 minutes, grabbed my keys and drove over. She tried to hug me in the parking lot. I stepped back. I'm here for him, I said, looking at my son. He ran to me in socks, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. On the drive back, she starts in with it. How the other guy drained her savings. How he changed. How she should have appreciated what she had. She starts reminiscing about our old apartment, our traditions. The way I always kept us safe. At home, I set up the couch for her and the bed for my son. Then I sat at the kitchen table and emailed my lawyer, documenting everything. The time, the motel, the fact that they were effectively homeless. The next week, I filed for emergency custody. The judge granted it. She showed up in court in the same cracked heels from that night, eyes swollen, saying I was punishing her for a mistake. Maybe I was just done letting my son's stability depend on the approval of some guy driving a leased BMW. She keeps texting me now. Long paragraphs about how she misses our family, how we were meant to be. I answer only about drop-offs and school forms. The romantic version of us died the night she packed her bags for him. The parental version of me is just getting started. Story 3. When my ex-wife left, she said something I'll never forget. You're a good guy, but he makes me feel alive. He was a coworker she'd been emotionally connecting with for months. I found the messages, we fought, and 3 months later the divorce was finalized. They moved in together. She unfriended half our mutuals like she was starting a whole new movie where I was just the grim opening scene. 4 years pass. I rebuild. Therapy, new hobbies, time with friends, quiet evenings in a small but cozy apartment. I'm actually okay. Then she emails me. No hey, no greeting. Just, I heard your mom isn't doing well. I'm sorry. I also wanted to say, I get it now. We agree to meet at a cafe because she insists it should be in person. She looks older, not in a bad way, just tired. The ring from Romeo 2.0 is gone. She tells me he cheated on her with a woman from his gym. He said the same lines she once said to me. You're great, but we grew apart. He kept the apartment. She got a suitcase. She looks me in the eyes and says, I thought you were the problem. I thought I'd be happier with someone more exciting. But you were home. I'm so sorry I blew that up. I waited for the old ache to come back, the urge to say, we can try again. Instead, all I felt was distance, like she was talking about a stranger I used to know. I told her, I appreciate the apology. I really do. But the person you're apologizing to doesn't exist anymore. I'm not him, and you're not her. She cried quietly. People at other tables pretended not to stare. She asked if we could start over as friends, see where it goes. I said, I don't think that's fair to either of us, or to the man I'm trying to become. On my way out, I texted my girlfriend. Coffee ran long. On my way home. Want takeout? My ex and I still co-parent, but that's it. She lost him. Then came looking for the version of me she'd preserved in her head. That guy died the night she walked out with her suitcase. Story 4. My ex didn't slide into my DMs. She slid into my LinkedIn. She left me 3 years ago for her soulmate, a startup bro with a crypto obsession and a Tesla he loved more than she loved our marriage. She told me I was risk-averse and holding her back. After the divorce, I threw myself into work. Eventually, I landed a solid job at a mid-sized tech company. Nothing flashy, but stable, good pay, sane hours. I started dating again. Life was calm. Then one day, a connection request pops up. It's her. New last name, same face. I laugh and ignore it. A few minutes later, I get an in-mail anyway. Hey, long time no talk, I see you work at company. I'm actually looking for a fresh start and would love a referral. We both know how good I am with people. Maybe we can grab lunch and catch up. I Google her. Turns out her startup prince crashed his company into the ground, left her with debt, and moved overseas. She'd been hopping between part-time gigs and MLM opportunities. Now she wanted safety. My safety. I showed the message to my current partner. We both stared at the smiling profile picture for a second. Then she just said, well, that's bold. I replied through LinkedIn. Hi, name. Our hiring process is handled through the website. Best of luck. She sent another message. Seriously? After everything we had, that's all you can say? I'm just asking for a referral, not your heart. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the whole thread to HR with a note. Potential conflict of interest applicant. I prefer not to be involved. A week later, she posts a rant on Instagram stories about men who can't handle a strong woman asking for help, and how I'm petty and bitter. One of our old mutuals sends it to me with a crying, laughing emoji. What happened when she tried to contact me after losing him? She found out I'd stopped being her backup plan. She'd reduced me to a career stepping stone. I'd finally learned how to walk away. Story 5. My ex-wife left when I was at my lowest. Recovering from surgery, business struggling, depressed. She met someone at a healing retreat, came back with crystals and a tan, and told me she'd outgrown our life. 1 month later, she moved in with the retreat's coach. The divorce was ugly, but we didn't have kids, so at least it was clean. She got a chunk of savings, he got his hook in a new client, and I got silence. For years. Last summer, I get an email with the subject line, please read. It's from her. Curiosity wins. I open it. She writes that he wasn't who she thought. He'd controlled everything. Her money, her friends, even her clothes. She'd left him after he drained her accounts and borrowed her car and never brought it back. Now she's broke, couch surfing, and in a really reflective place. Then the punchline. I know I hurt you. I was selfish and naive. But seeing you now, the business you built, your new place, how healthy you look, it made me realize you were the one who truly loved me. I don't deserve it, but could we talk? Even just as roommates for a while to get back on my feet? I think we could rebuild something. I'll sign whatever you want. She attached photos of my new apartment she'd pulled from my business Instagram. That creeped me out more than anything. I stared at the screen a long time. Part of me felt anger, part of me felt pity. I remembered nights I begged her to stay, promised I'd change, swore I'd be more spiritual if that's what she wanted. I replied with 3 short paragraphs. I'm genuinely sorry for what you went through. No one deserves that. I'm glad you got out, and I hope you find a safe place to land. I'm not that place. She responded with a flood of messages. Bargaining, guilt, then anger, calling me hard-hearted, and saying I'd learn about karma. Maybe I will. But here's what she doesn't get. The moment she walked out with him, whatever home existed between us burned down. What she's seeing now isn't the life she left. It's what I built from the ashes. Without her. And definitely not for her. Story 6. My ex-wife left me for a much older, wealthy guy. Stability, she called it. Like the 10 years I spent working double shifts somehow didn't count. They got married 6 months after our divorce. She bragged on Facebook about trading up while I was sleeping on a blow-up mattress in a 1-bedroom rental. Fast forward 3 years. I'm engaged. My carpentry business is finally doing well, and my son has his own room at my place. I get an unexpected call. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It's her, voice shaking. Hey, it's me. I don't know who else to call. Can you please call me back? Curiosity wins. I call from my work phone. She tells me her husband died suddenly. Massive heart attack. But here's the twist. Ironclad prenup, everything goes to his adult kids. She gets a couple months in the guest house and that's it. He was my whole world, she sobs, then slips in. I keep thinking about you. You always had a good heart. Maybe we could talk? I saw your pictures with our son. You look so happy. I miss that. I feel nothing romantic. Just this dull ache and a lot of old anger. I tell her I'm sorry for her loss, but I'm engaged and not interested in reopening that chapter. She switches gears instantly. So that's it? I leave once and you never forgive me? You can't even meet me for coffee for our son's sake? For his sake, I say. I'm keeping my life stable. You chose a different version of stability, remember? She tried again later through my mom, through mutual friends, even sending a long email about fate giving us a second chance. I replied once, fate gave me a second chance. I'm not wasting it going backwards. She lost him and expected to find a familiar doormat waiting where she left it. I'd learned to lock the door. Story 7. When my ex left, she needed a villain. So I became the emotionally abusive husband who never supported her dreams. Because that sounded better than, I cheated with a guy from my yoga class. She told everyone I was controlling, cold, toxic. I said nothing. Just signed the papers and focused on our daughter. Her new guy was the complete opposite of me. Tattoos, motorcycle, zero schedule. She said she finally felt alive. Fine. I stuck to the custody arrangement, showed up for every pickup, paid support on time. 2 years later, she calls me out of nowhere, voice trembling. Can you talk? She explains that yoga guy has been screaming at our daughter, punching doors, breaking things. CPS got involved after the neighbors called the cops. Now she needs witnesses to prove she's the safe parent in a custody hearing. I know I said terrible things about you, she says, crying, but you know I was just hurt. Can you please tell the court what a good dad I am? If they take her away, I won't survive. For a second, I see the girl I married, terrified and ashamed. But I also remember sitting in a courtroom while she lied under oath that I'd isolated her, just to make sure she got more support. I tell her, I'll do anything to protect our daughter. That doesn't include rewriting history to protect your image. I contacted my lawyer and CPS myself, gave them a factual statement. I've never seen her physically hurt our daughter, but her choice of partner and her denial of the danger scared me. I asked for primary custody. In court, she looked at me like I'd stabbed her. Her attorney tried to paint me as vindictive, but the police reports, CPS notes, and the neighbors' statements drowned that out. I got majority custody. She got supervised visits until she could prove she'd cut ties with yoga guy and gotten therapy. Later, she texted me, I reached out for help and you destroyed me. No, I finally chose our daughter over her feelings. She lost him and came running back, expecting the same man she once accused in front of a judge to now save her reputation. I only cared about saving our kid. Story 8. My ex and I divorced quietly. No cheating, that I knew of. Just the classic, we've grown apart talk. 3 months later, she's officially in a relationship with a guy from her CrossFit box, so you do the math. She blocked me on everything except email. For boundaries, she said. I used a parenting app to communicate about our son and left it at that. A year and a half later, I get a message request on Instagram from a burner account with no profile picture. Can we talk? It's her name. I ignore it. The next night, my work phone rings from a number I don't recognize. I pick up because it might be a client. Please don't hang up, she blurts out. He left. He said he never wanted kids, that he only stayed because of me. I don't know what to do. She starts telling me everything. The way he mocked my son for being sensitive, the eye rolls when bedtime took too long, the pressure on her to choose between being a real partner and a mom. When she tried to slow things down, he told her she was lucky he hadn't bailed sooner. I listen. I genuinely feel bad for her. But there's a difference between empathy and a second chance. Then she says it. Seeing you pick our son up from school the other day, you look so happy and grounded. I was wondering if we could go for coffee, just us. Maybe talk about us. Us, I repeat. The us you tagged as toxic on your breakup post. She's silent. I continue. I'll always talk about schedules, school, doctors, money, but the only us I'm interested in is you and him as co-parents. Not you and me. She sniffles, says I'm being cruel, that she just wants one person on her side. You had me on your side, I say. You traded that for a guy who hated bedtime stories. Now she only contacts me through the app. Short, polite messages. At school events, she watches me and our son laughing with my girlfriend like she's peering through a window at a life she almost had. When she lost him, she finally realized the boring dad she walked out on was exactly the stability she'd been posting quotes about. By the time she reached for it, it was already someone else's reality. Story 9. My ex-wife was obsessed with appearances. Designer bags on credit cards, influencer brunches with women she barely knew, constant Instagram stories about choosing herself. Meanwhile, I was working 2 jobs to keep us out of the red. She met a real estate agent who liked to flash stacks of commission cash. 6 months later, I was signing divorce papers and moving into a shared house with 2 roommates while she moved into a downtown condo. Our daughter stayed mostly with her because her school is closer. 3 years later, I'm in a better apartment, decent savings, an old but reliable car, and a co-parenting rhythm that mostly works. Then the real estate market crashes. I find out through our daughter that they're moving again because mommy's friend is stressed about money. A month later, my ex texts me, "Can you call me when you're free?" Not about our daughter. I just really need someone who knows me. She tells me he bailed after his commissions dried up. New girl, new market, new city. She's staring down an eviction notice. She wants to know if our daughter and she can stay for a little while at my place, just until I get back on my feet. I look around my modest but tidy 2-bedroom. My daughter's art on the fridge, my girlfriend's sweater hanging on a chair, the piece I fought hard for. "I'll take our daughter full-time until you sort things out," I say. "You can figure your own housing out," she explodes. "So you'd let the mother of your child be homeless? After everything I gave up for you?" I remind her she didn't give up anything. She left for a guy with bottle service and leased BMWs. I offer to pay for a week in a motel so our daughter doesn't see her on a couch somewhere. I also tell her we'll be revisiting custody. In court, she tries the devoted mom, cruel ex angle. But her ex-landlord's testimony and bank statements look bad. I get full custody with her having visitation once she has a stable place and job. She keeps sending me emotional texts about how she only ever wanted security and misjudged where it would come from. I don't answer anything that isn't strictly about our daughter. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? She discovered that the backup option had stopped waiting on the bench and built his own team. Story 10. My ex-wife curated our breakup like content. She posted this long, poetic caption about closing a chapter with gratitude, all while quietly moving in with a guy from her band. In her version, we had grown apart. No villains, just different journeys. In reality, I found their texts while paying her phone bill. But whatever. I let it go. I moved out, hit the gym, focused on my career in IT, and eventually started streaming games on the side. Nothing big, just a small Twitch community that weirdly helped me crawl out of the hole. 2 years later, I've got a solid following. I don't talk about her, but people know I'm divorced and rebuilding. I post one picture on Instagram. Me in my new place, new PC setup, my dog, and my girlfriend sitting on the couch in the background, half visible. That same night, I get a DM from her main account, the one that still has curated photos of her and band guy at festivals. "Wow, you look different. I watched your stream the other day. I'm proud of you. Things didn't work out with band guy. He wasn't who I thought. I miss how safe I felt with you. Can we talk? Maybe even do a stream together about healing after divorce?" People would love it. There it was. Not just, "I miss you," but "You're relevant again, and I'd like some of that." I reply, "Glad you got out of a bad situation. I don't think it's appropriate to collaborate or talk beyond co-parenting." She pushes, "You're really going to be cold like that?" I left because I needed growth. I see now you grew too. Why punish me for realizing too late? I read it twice. Once as the guy she left crying on an air mattress, once as the man who'd spent 2 years rebuilding. Then I type, "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting what I built. My channel isn't your rebrand arc." She left me on scene, then posted a vague story about people who forget who held them when they were nothing. Our mutuals sent it to me. We laughed in a group chat and then went back to our lives. She lost him and tried to convert my healing into her content. What she found instead was that the quiet, boring man she abandoned had learned the loudest words she never thought he'd use with her. No. Story 11. My ex-wife left me for my friend. Not just any friend, my best man. They swore up and down that feelings just happened and they didn't mean to hurt me. 6 months after the divorce, they had a baby. Our mutuals called them a beautiful modern family. I quietly went to therapy and learned to stop punching walls. 3 years later, I'm putting my daughter from my new relationship to bed when my phone lights up with a number I don't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text. "It's me. Please pick up. It's about best man's name and the baby." Against my better judgment, I call back. She's hysterical. Turns out Romeo dipped. He'd been cheating, again, this time with a coworker overseas. Left her with a mortgage, a toddler, and debt he'd hidden. Then she drops the bomb. "I need your help. I think the baby might be yours." Apparently, the overlap between her affair and our marriage was worse than I thought. Her timeline had always been, we waited until after we separated. Now it's, We slipped a few times. I'm not sure about the conception date. She wants me to rush and do a DNA test, so we can be a family again if it's you. It would explain why she looks so much like you. I sit there, staring at the wall, feeling my stomach drop. Part of me is furious, not just at the cheating, but at the fact she kept this possibility to herself for years. Part of me is terrified for the kid, who has no idea which man is actually her father. I tell her I'll do a DNA test, but through a lawyer and a proper lab, not a swab in her kitchen between crying fits. I also tell her, whether she's biologically mine or not, this doesn't magically fix what you did. We do the test. It comes back, not mine. She sobs on the phone like someone died. In a way, something did. Her backup fantasy of me stepping in to replace the man who abandoned her. I tell her I'm still willing to be a stable male figure for the kid as a godfather type, not as her partner or father. But that would involve custody hearings, paperwork, and honesty she's never shown. She ghosts after that. Later, I see a post from one of our old mutuals. A vague rant from her about men who only show up for kids when it benefits them. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? She learned that I'd show up for the truth, but not as the consolation prize she'd kept in her back pocket for years. Story 12. My ex-wife didn't leave me for a man. She left me for a woman. At first, I actually tried to be understanding. She sat me down, cried, said she'd been living a lie, and that her coworker helped her finally see who she really was. I got painted as the clueless straight husband who never really saw her. We divorced. She moved in with her girlfriend, and TikTok loved their coming out story. I kept my head down and focused on co-parenting our son. She got primary custody, the internet clapped, and in every post I became my ex with a little eye roll emoji. 2 years later, my son starts acting weird. Doesn't want to go to her place. I ask gently. He says, they fight all the time. Mom cries a lot. Girlfriend says we hold her back. I bring it up to my ex. She snaps, don't weaponize our son against me just because you're bitter. A month after that, I get a DM from her. No rainbow emojis, no feminist quotes, just, she left. I don't know what to do. We meet at a park so our son can play. She looks destroyed. The girlfriend cheated, drained their joint account to fund some spiritual retreat, and told my ex she isn't ready to be a stepmom. My ex suddenly wants more nights where the three of us do things as a family. She texts me late at night about missing the stability and realizing I was never actually unhappy with you, just with myself. I tell her, I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm still not interested in being your emotional safety net. She says I'm invalidating her journey, that I'm being punitive because she discovered her sexuality. I tell her it's not about that. It's about the way she detonated our life, dragged me online, and now wants me to be the one stable person after the relationship she blew everything up for collapsed. I offered this. I'd take more nights with our son while she gets therapy and housing sorted. I'd even vouch for her as a loving mom in court if it came to that. But romance? Emotional late-night calls? No. That night, she posted a vague story about men who only support you when you're useful to them. Her followers spammed heart emojis. None of them were around when I was changing diapers at 3 a.m., back when I was still the villain. What happened when she contacted me after losing her? She found out I'd grown enough to separate compassion for the mother of my child from the boundaries I needed with the woman who blew up our marriage. Story 13. My ex-wife treated our marriage like a layover on the way to her real life. She was obsessed with moving abroad. I was fine with the idea eventually, but I wanted us to plan it properly. She didn't want planning. She wanted a shortcut. Cue the guy from her language exchange app. European, charming, open-minded, and, most importantly, ready to marry her so she could get a visa. She framed it as some great love story, told her friends I was too small-minded to follow her dreams. We divorced. She married him within the year and posted smug photos under captions like, some men support your wings, others clip them. Guess which one I was? About 3 years later, I'm at my desk when my WhatsApp pings from a foreign number. Hey, it's her name. Please don't block me. I really need help. She explains that the marriage imploded the moment the honeymoon phase faded. Passive-aggressive comments turned into shouting matches. He refused to put her on the deed, controlled all the money, and started threatening divorce the second she pushed back. Then immigration got involved. Turns out he'd lied on some forms, and now there's a chance she might get deported. She wants a letter from me. No, several letters. To his embassy, to hers, to the immigration office, saying that she left because I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and that she had no choice but to marry quickly for safety. If you help, she writes, I can come back to our country. Maybe we can even try again. I see your pictures, you look amazing. I was stupid. I read the message 3 times. She was asking me to lie, to officially brand myself as an abuser, just so she could rewrite her story from "I left my husband for a foreign guy" to "I escaped from a bad man and made a desperate choice." I responded, "I will not lie about being abusive. If you want a letter, I'll tell the truth. You left for someone else because you wanted an easier ticket out." She calls me, screaming that I'm ruining her life, that I owe her for the years she wasted with me. I hang up. Later, I get a polite email from an immigration officer asking for confirmation. I send a short, factual statement. No embellishment, no revenge, just dates and facts. A year later, I see her in a grocery store in our hometown. She's back. No husband, no visa, just a cart full of discount items and eyes that don't meet mine. She tried to contact me after losing him to rewrite the script and cast me as the villain to save her own story. Instead, she found out I'd rather be the quiet, boring truth than the dramatic lie that would keep her dream alive. Story 14. When my ex and I divorced, she played hardball. She wanted the house, the car, half my retirement, and reimbursement for the years she supported my career, even though we both worked and she insisted we keep finances separate. Her lawyer went nuclear. They dragged out the process for a year, racked up fees and sleepless nights. In the end, she got the house but also a chunk of the debt. I walked away with my car, my tools, some savings, and a crushed nervous system. I moved into a small rented studio above a mechanic's shop and rebuilt my life, one freelance contract at a time. Eventually, I started my own small company. It did okay, then very okay. 4 years later, I'm sitting in my actual office when I get an email from her with the subject, "Can we talk, please?" She's lost the house. Couldn't keep up with the mortgage, taxes, and maintenance. The car got repossessed. She's drowning in credit card debt. Her email is a messy mix of blame and apology. "If you hadn't fought me so hard in court, I wouldn't be in this position. I know I was harsh, but I was scared. You're doing so well now. Maybe we were both wrong. Could we meet? Maybe you could hire me or help me with a loan. We were partners once." I sit there, remembering the way she smirked at me across the mediation table when her lawyer won another concession. I also remember the pit in my stomach when I handed my lawyer yet another retainer check. I reply, "I'm sorry things are hard. I'm not in a position to loan you money or hire you. We're not partners anymore." She shows up at my office anyway, unannounced. My receptionist buzzes me, whispering, "Your ex is here. She says it's urgent." I step into the lobby. She looks around at the space. Framed certificates, a couple of employees' desks, my name on the door, and her face crumples. "You were supposed to crash," she says. "It's not fair that you're thriving and I'm—" She gestures helplessly. I tell her gently but firmly, "You fought to make sure we left that marriage as strangers. You succeeded. Strangers don't save each other financially." She accuses me of being vindictive, of enjoying her fall. I tell her I don't. Honestly, I don't feel much of anything. I wish her luck finding a debt counselor and give her the number of a reputable one. That's it. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? And the lifestyle she thought she secured in court. She met a man who'd finally learned the difference between compassion and being used as a bailout plan. Story 15. My ex-wife and I were church couple royalty. Youth leaders, worship team, the whole package. When she started a secret thing with the married music director, the community didn't believe me at first. I was the angry husband. He was the godly man under attack. When the truth finally came out, screenshots, late-night calls, one of her friends guiltily confessing, they both left our church together. I filed for divorce. Her narrative in their new church was that I'd been emotionally cold, spiritually dead, and that she'd fallen in love with someone who really saw her. I stayed, bruised, but stubborn. Over time, people stopped looking at me with that pity-curiosity combo. I found a smaller friend group, focused on work, and quietly healed. 2 years later, she shows up at the back of a Sunday service. Know him. Afterward, I get a long Facebook message. He cheated on me. With a girl from the worship team. I feel so stupid. Everyone thinks I'm the problem now. I know I hurt you, but could we talk? You were always the one who grounded me in my faith. I miss that version of us. She wants to meet for closure and prayer. My first thought is honestly, of course he cheated again. My second is, this is not my crisis to fix. We agree to meet in a public cafe. She cries, says she realizes now that I wasn't the unloving husband she painted me as. She admits she exaggerated, even lied, to justify leaving. Then comes the ask, would you come with me to talk to the pastor? If you tell them you forgive me and that I wasn't all bad, maybe they'll let me back into leadership. I need a place again. I look at her and say, church isn't a stage. It's not a PR platform you get back because your last one collapsed. She insists this is about redemption. I tell her forgiveness and platform are not the same thing. I'm working on forgiveness, but I'm not signing up to be her character witness. Later, she shows up alone to talk to the pastor. I find out she told him I refuse to show grace. The pastor, to his credit, tells her that grace doesn't mean dragging your ex into your rebrand. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? She discovered that the man she'd publicly crucified was not interested in being the cross she climbed back up on to win sympathy. I'm okay with being the villain in her version of the story if it means I get to keep my peace in mine. Story 16. My ex-wife left me for our couples therapist. Yeah, let that sink in. We went to therapy because I thought we could fix things. By session 3, she was glowing when she walked into his office and stone-faced when we walked out. 2 months later, she needed clarity and went on a solo retreat with him. I got an email asking for a divorce and a Venmo request for half the retreat cost. They ended up together. New city, new practice, new Instagram filled with quotes about finding your authentic self. I paid alimony. She painted me as the emotionally stunted ex who wouldn't grow. 3 years pass. I'm off alimony, I've lost weight, started a small landscaping business, even bought a house. Then one night, I get a Facebook message. Hey, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I really need to talk to you. Please. Turns out Dr. Soulmate lost his license. One of his patients reported him for having a relationship during treatment. When the board pulled the thread, they found her. Every email, every boundary violation. His practice collapsed. Their finances followed. She writes, "We're being sued. I might lose everything. I know I hurt you, but you were always good with money and practical stuff. Can you help me figure this out?" I tell her she should call a lawyer. She says she can't afford one. Maybe you could co-sign a loan? Or just let me stay with you a bit while I get my life sorted. I see how well you're doing. I'm proud of you. Proud of the guy she let get dissected in her therapist's notes. I answer, I'm sorry this is happening, but I'm not your safety net. You chose to blow up our marriage with the guy whose job was to protect it. She accuses me of being unforgiving, of weaponizing my healing. I log out, go sit on my porch and watch my dog chase bugs in the yard I paid for with my own hands. What happened when she tried to contact me after losing him? She discovered that the man she used as a case study now treats her like what she turned him into, a closed file. Story 17. My ex-wife always wanted status. I was a school teacher. She wanted luxury trips and designer bags. She called my career cute, the way people talk about a hobby. Then she met a minor local celebrity, a radio host. He was loud, charming, lived in a fancy high-rise. She started helping with events, then crashing on his couch, then serving me divorce papers with a smile. They became that couple on social media, matching outfits, pool parties, VIP passes. I disappeared into lesson plans and night classes, slowly climbing into school administration. A few years go by. I'm now vice principal, newly engaged, finally able to think about buying a townhouse. One night I'm grading papers when my phone buzzes with a number I don't know. I ignore it. Then a text. Please answer. It's her name. I'm at the hospital. It's about Radio Guy. He'd been arrested for a DUI that resulted in a serious accident. His sponsors dropped him. His show got pulled. Suddenly he's not status anymore. He's a liability. She's been paying his legal fees with credit cards and now they're drowning. She tells me between sobs that she remembers how calm life felt with me. How I always had a plan. She says, I made a mistake. I got dazzled. Can we just talk? Maybe dinner? You're the only good man I've ever known. I look at the essay in front of me. A kid writing about wanting to be the first in his family to go to college. And I realize, my life has weight again. I'm needed in real ways. I tell her, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm not the person you call for this anymore. I've built a different life now, she begs. So that's it? Years together and you won't even give me a second chance? I respond, you didn't just leave me. You mocked the life I chose. It turns out that boring stability is what's keeping me afloat now. She hangs up. A week later, one of my coworkers shows me her cryptic post about men who kick you when you're down. What happened when she tried to contact me after losing him? She realized the man she'd traded for a spotlight had quietly become the kind of man you can lean on. Just not for her. Story 18. My ex-wife always talked about soul contracts and past lives. I work in IT. You can imagine how well that mixed long-term. She met a guy at a spiritual retreat who called himself an energy healer. He did breathwork sessions, cacao ceremonies, the whole package. Within months, she was convinced they'd been married in another lifetime. In this one, she divorced me and moved into his healing house. They started a joint business. Online courses, retreats, $333 Zoom sessions. She blocked me on everything except email, saying my low vibration was bad for her. 2.5 years later, I get a long, rambling email with no greeting. I'm writing because the universe has humbled me. He wasn't who I thought. He was using my trauma to control me. He cheated, lied about money, and now I'm thousands in debt. I'm in a motel. I don't know what to do. I keep thinking about how safe I felt when you handled everything. Can we talk? She wants to come stay in my guest room, just for a few months, while she gets back on her feet. Says she'll help with the house and cook like old times. My guest room is actually my home office where I work remote and stream games. It's also where my girlfriend stores her art supplies. My life is small but peaceful. I write back, I'm sorry this happened. You should reach out to your family or a women's shelter. I'm not able to offer housing. She replies immediately, so you're okay watching your ex-wife be homeless? After everything we shared? I answer, you left to follow your soul contract. I signed mine with my sanity. I can't break that. She later posts a vague TikTok about narcissistic exes who pretend to be enlightened while abandoning you in your darkest hour. A mutual sends it to me. I close it halfway through and go back to debugging code. What happened when she tried to contact me after losing him? She learned that the man she dismissed as low vibration had raised his standards too high to let her move back in on a wave of regret. Story 19. My ex-wife and I co-owned a small cafe. I handled the numbers and suppliers. She handled the social media and the front counter charm. We weren't rich, but we were steady. Then this food blogger started coming in a lot. Young, flashy, big following. He offered to consult on our brand. Somehow his suggestions always involved more of him and less of me. Within a year, she'd convinced herself he was her creative equal, and I was just dead weight. She wanted to pivot into a concept space with him, which apparently didn't include a husband who asked annoying questions like, how do we pay rent? She left, sold me her half of the cafe for cheap just to get out fast, and opened a new place with Blogger Boy across town. I spent 2 years quietly grinding, paying off debt, and slowly turning the cafe into a neighborhood staple. One rainy Tuesday, she walks in. Alone. No camera, no entourage. She looks smaller somehow. Can we talk? She asks. We sit. She tells me the new place failed hard. He was interested in vibes, not permits. Rent skyrocketed, investors pulled out, and he bailed the second things got tough. She's now blacklisted with some suppliers for unpaid invoices. I drove past here last week, she says, looking around at my full pastry case. You did everything I said you couldn't. Without me. I shrug. Turns out spreadsheets are sexy now. She laughs, then her eyes fill. I miss this. I miss you. I made a mistake. Maybe we could partner again? Even if not as a couple, we were always good together in business. I remember all the nights she called me small-minded for not wanting to gamble payroll on Instagram trends. All the times she refused to look at the books. I tell her, we weren't partners. I was the safety net under your jumps. I took the falls. You took the credit. She asks if I'll at least help her get back into the industry, maybe vouch for her with suppliers. I give her the number of one who's willing to do prepaid-only accounts. That's it. She leaves with her shoulders hunched. Later, I hear she took an office job she hates. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? She found a profitable cafe, a steady owner, and no open positions for creative director of chaos. Story 20. My ex-wife always said she wanted a real man, her words. Someone decisive, dominant, not always asking for everyone's feelings. I'm a nurse. I've spent my adult life asking people about their pain levels and making sure they're comfortable. I guess that didn't fit the fantasy. She met him through her brother. Ex-military, runs a security company, big truck, bigger opinions. She glowed around him. With me, she sighed. I just need more, she said one night. More protection, more leadership. I'm tired of carrying everything. 3 months later, she left. They married within the year. She posted photos of him in tactical gear with captions like, finally safe. I kept my head down, worked double shifts, and slowly crawled out of the financial hole the divorce left. 2 years pass. I'm coming off a night shift when I see a string of missed calls from an unknown number. Then a text. Please. It's me. He's been arrested. I don't know what to do. He'd gotten into some shady side hustles. Private security that sounded a lot like mercenary work. Now there are federal charges and frozen accounts. She's terrified, broke, and suddenly remembers that I always knew how to talk to authorities. She wants me to come with her to meet his lawyer, to explain what a good person she is, and how she had no idea. She also subtly hints she might stay at my place for a few weeks until things calm down. I'm sitting in my tiny but clean kitchen, looking at the plant my current girlfriend insists on overwatering. and I realize I love my small, quiet, non-tactical life. I tell her, you should get your own lawyer, and maybe talk to a therapist. I'm not getting involved. She starts crying, says, you always talked about justice and helping people. Now when I really need you, you're nowhere. I help patients, I say. I help people who didn't cheer when my life got wrecked because you found someone stronger. She goes silent, then finally whispers, I didn't think you'd change. I didn't, I reply. I just stopped letting you define what real man means. What happened when she tried to contact me after losing him? The nurse she once dismissed as too gentle finally triaged her out of his life. Not as critical, not as his responsibility, and definitely not as his emergency contact. Story 21. My ex-wife didn't just leave, she detonated my reputation on her way out. She cheated with a coworker, then spun it as escaping an emotionally abusive marriage. She told everyone I was manipulative, controlling, that I made her feel crazy. I lost friends. My own parents asked if there was anything I needed to admit. Her new man? HR guy at her job. The irony. He helped her document my supposed behavior, coached her on divorce strategy, testified in court that she'd confided in him for months. Judge gave her the house. I got a lopsided support order and an apartment with mold. 2 years later, I'd rebuilt. Different job, different city, new girlfriend, a therapist of my own. My name was finally not the punchline to her story. Then, late-night voicemail from an unknown number. Her. She's sobbing. He was fired. They found messages between us from when I was still married. They're calling it misconduct. His wife kicked him out. He says this is all my fault. I don't know where to go. I thought of you. I almost laughed. She thought of me after the man she burned my life down for threw her under the bus. She asks if we can talk. You're the only person who really knows what it's like to be lied about, she says, with zero irony. She wants me to help her clear the air, maybe even write a character reference to his company about how their relationship saved her. I text back, I'm sorry this is happening, but I'm not getting involved. I spent years climbing out of a hole your story put me in. She switches instantly. So you're just going to abandon me when I'm finally getting what you wanted? You wanted this. No. I wanted peace. I blocked her number, then sat there shaking. Not from sadness, but from the realization that the man she'd painted as a monster was the only one saying no to using someone else's life as a prop this time. She lost him and went looking for the same old scapegoat. I wasn't standing there anymore. Story 22. My ex-wife left me the week my dad died. Not exaggerating. We got back from the funeral. She waited until my mom went to bed, then calmly told me she'd fallen in love with someone from her grief support group. He understands loss in a way you don't, she said. I need someone who can hold space for that. I spent the next year in a fog. She moved in with Grief Guy, who posted long captions about finding light after darkness, with a selfie of them holding hands at some overlook. They blocked me on everything. Fast forward 3 years. I'm in therapy, in a much better job, and engaged to someone who actually supports me. My fiancé and I are packing for a weekend trip when a long email lands in my inbox. It's her. She writes that Grief Guy turned out to be stuck. His entire personality was trauma. Every disagreement became a competition about who hurt more. He resented her for going back to school, accused her of abandoning him. When she finally tried to leave, he threatened self-harm. She says she's in a shelter for a while, trying to get her head clear. Then, I know I don't deserve your help, but seeing your life now, the work you've done, your new relationship, it reminded me of who you really were. Steady. Safe. If there's any chance we could talk, even just so I can apologize in person, my fiancé reads the email too. She looks at me, not jealous, just concerned. What do you need? She asks. What I need is not to sit across from the woman who left me at my father's funeral and let her cry into my closure. I reply, thank you for the apology. I hope you stay safe and continue therapy. For my own healing and out of respect for my fiancé, I'm not meeting in person. I forgive you from afar. That's all I can give. She answers with one more message. A mix of gratitude and hurt, ending with, I always knew you were the better man. I just realized it when it was too late. What happened when she contacted me after losing him? She got the one thing I was finally willing to offer. Forgiveness without access. Story 23. My ex-wife and I never had kids, which everyone assumed made the divorce easier. It didn't. It just removed one reason for us to speak. She left for a guy from her rock climbing gym. He was everything I wasn't. Spontaneous, shredded, constantly posting summit pics with this "we only live once" energy. She told me I was too careful, like double-checking the mortgage before we went on trips was some kind of moral failing. We went no contact the day the divorce was finalized. 2 years of silence. Then one night, my phone buzzes with a number I don't know and a grainy photo. An X-ray of a shattered leg. It's me, the text says. I fell. Can we talk? She'd taken a bad fall on a climb he convinced her she was ready for. He walked away with bruises. She left with rods in her leg, nerve damage, and months of rehab ahead. He lasted 3 weeks into her recovery before saying he couldn't handle negativity and moving in with another climber. She's back at her mom's, unable to work her old job, drowning in medical bills. She tells me she can't stop thinking about how safe she felt when I drove carefully, when I made lists, when I insisted on travel insurance. I mocked you for being cautious, she says on the phone, voice thick. Turns out boring was just stable. Do you think we could ever try again? I stare at my calendar. Meetings, gym, dinner plans with my girlfriend. The quiet, unremarkable life I've built. I'm sorry you're going through this, I say. I don't wish this on you, but I'm not in a place where reopening that door is healthy. For either of us. She asks if we can at least stay in touch. Maybe see where it goes. I tell her no, not cruelly, just firmly. After we hang up, I book a small donation to a local fund that helps people with medical debt, anonymously. That's all the past gets from me. A quiet gesture, not my future. She contacted me after losing him expecting the old harness to still be there. But I'd already unclipped and climbed off that wall.